The more hours you put into mundane work for somebody else's stuff is what's going to result in money for you. I get that. Okay. And you have to do that. And maybe that's what you end up having to do. That's fine. But if you want out of that, or if you want to find passion and purpose within that, you have to break from those things every so often and take this time for yourself. Well, I use my brain every single day, so isn't that working my brain out? Well, you're using a selection of habits every single day. When we look at what we actually reason out and think through to make decisions, it's a much lower percentage than how the rest of the things that our brain is doing. Our brain is mostly operating on habits. It's neural connections to responses. How you put your pants on in the morning, how you brush your teeth, all those things, down to the small decisions you make each day. Yes, you're making decisions all day long, but you're not actually working out your brain much during those decisions because you're really already doing habits that have been reinforced over years of behavior. And some of those habits you have are going to be great, and some of those are not going to be so great. It's literally the difference between you being attractive or unattractive to a woman, the difference between making $1 million next year and being broke sometimes, right? The difference between achieving your goals and not. Like all these things can be boiled down to or deduced down to habits that your brain develops. So your way you think, your thought patterns even are habitual. So you have to actively decide to change those things and do exercises to optimize that. And that's just like if you worked your body every single day in a sense. Let's say you worked a physical sort of job. You worked in construction. I've done construction work before. Okay, it can be very physical depending on what area you're in. But do you think construction guys are all healthy and in shape? I will tell you no, but a large majority of them are not. Okay, so they still have to have the right nutrition and work their bodies out. And the parts of their bodies they need to work out are the parts that are neglected more or less when they're doing their construction work. Well, it's the same with your mind. I mean, let's say you're a really talented engineer and you're doing like mathematical stuff all day long and using that part of your brain. That's great. How's your social part of your brain? How's the part of your brain that makes social connections? How's the part of your brain that you're going to use during seduction? Is that going well? How about emotional self-control when you get angry? How about goal achievement? You see what I mean? Maybe there are some things are going okay, some things aren't, but you get what I'm saying. We can't possibly work every aspect of our brains all the time, 24/7. So most of them are going to be habits, and then there's other parts that you're going to work a lot. Okay. And so what we want to do is just like we work our bodies out is we find out the areas where we're a little bit weak or the areas we want to get stronger in, and we work those parts. Alpha Mindset course is going to help you do that on your own without having to book an expensive hour with me. I'm going to share with you an article. Came across it in reading it here off of Entrepreneur Magazine, titled Steve Jobs and Albert Einstein Apply the Concept of No Time to Boost Their Creativity. What does this entail? All right. So according to neuroscience, taking a break from our busy schedules and devoting some time to doing absolutely nothing is key to fostering creativity. All right. So I talk about this a bit, and I definitely cover this into the meditation portions of that course. And when we talk about the alpha brainwave meditation, that's what alpha brainwave meditation is. It's essentially turning on alpha brainwave music. You can find that on YouTube. And if you search binaural beats, alpha brain music, there's usually alpha brainwaves in the music, as well as a binaural element to it. Now, binaural beats and brainwave music are actually not the same. I'll do another video on that to explain that a little further. You can do some research on that, but it doesn't really matter. Just having the alpha brainwaves in the background or even just straight alpha brainwaves audially is good enough. And then thinking of nothing, taking basically almost like a nap in the middle of the day, but you're not really falling asleep. You're shutting your eyes and just shutting your brain down as if you're going to sleep, You're only giving yourself maybe 10 or 15 minutes. So it's impossible for you to fall into like any kind of a deep sleep. And by stimulating those alpha waves, it keeps you in an awake state. So you don't accidentally fall into theta then delta sleep and end up, taking a nap that you didn't plan for in the middle of the day, or coming out of it groggy. All right. So alpha brainwave meditation is really a no mindedness, just with that alpha brainwave music in the background. And if you know anything about brain waves, you're operating in a beta, very active state in your brain. If you're high anxiety or have stress, you're in a high beta state. Alpha is more of that peak state and kind of like being in the zone, right? And it's a slower brainwave state than your beta. And so you want to, bring yourself down to that peak state, which is awake and alert, but more or less creative and able to get stuff done. And so those of you guys who have that crash in the afternoon from doing your morning work and stuff, take this break and shut your brain off. Now, shutting your brain off doesn't mean searching through Facebook or thinking about your to-do list or thinking about the date you have later. You get what I'm saying? Shutting your brain off is literally shutting your brain off, okay? So I'll continue to read this article a bit. An essential element to achieving success is implementing a proper routine on a daily basis, as science and history points out. Although your daily routine might be healthy and productive, it can also be hectic and kill creativity. In an article in Inc. magazine notes, the magazine also points out that many successful people have dedicated a large part of their lives to no time. No time is just a catchy word that somebody came up with to describe a bunch of the things I'm talking about in the mindset course. That's fine. Whatever, you know what I mean? Either whatever you decide to call it, it works pretty well. All right. Stephen Kotler, author of the book The Art of the Impossible and a TED speaker, pointed out that no time, so it's probably Stephen's term for it, which is fine. Hey, man, if it gets the point across, good for you. But that no time has to do with a quiet moment in which a person can isolate himself or herself from the noise and demands of the world. It's no wonder that the internet is full of articles related to morning routines of important and famous figures, giving suggestions on how to add positive activities to your day-to-day life. In order to have a beneficial and satisfying life, it is advisable to take into account gratitude practices, nature walks, and connections with oneself, since they are backed by research that confirms all these activities are good for people. And so with the course, by the way, and when I come on and talk in these videos, I'm trying to put the science and the research and evidence into a lot of these practices that can get very woo-woo and belief-based. You know what I mean? So we're trying to take some of that magical thinking out of it and just let's focus on the stuff that's going to actually benefit you and separate the magical thinking from the science. Now, I don't mean magical thinking in a bad way either. Let's say you have a religious belief, okay, and you believe in God and you pray and you meditate and God is the center of that. That's great, okay? When I say magical thinking, it's just because you don't have scientific evidence for God. You can't, right? So that's a belief system you're putting into that practice. Nothing wrong with that. Not discounting that one bit. In fact, there's a lot of reasons that can be very valuable. I'm just separating that component of it from the science aspect of the things. And what you decide to do with it and what beliefs you decide to attach to it, that's up to you. I'm not here to tell you what religion to follow or to not follow, right? I mean, you don't have to be a religious person or have esoteric or magical thinking or beliefs to benefit from this stuff. It's beneficial from a research-based perspective, and we're doing new research all the time to getting that dialed in even better. So even the things I have in this course, that's why I'm updating it every quarter, because I'm going to come across new stuff where, okay, I need to update this a little bit because this is good, but I want to expand on it a little bit because there's new research, right? And so we want to take that magical thinking out of this stuff so you guys get the benefits without having to, I don't know, join a cult somewhere, or, get weird on us, right? You can stay grounded into reality, but get the benefits of these practices. So back to the article. In order to have a beneficial and satisfying life, it's advisable to, okay, I said that already. All right. So science indicates that no time is much needed in such a routine. Because if you spend most of your day with all these existing habits, it's unlikely you'll have time for yourself. And so that is alluding to a really important point here. Do not schedule yourself out so much and so badly that you don't have time for you. When I say, what do I mean by time for you? I don't mean time for you to scroll your social media. Although, you know what? If social media, like in my case, social media is a part of my business, I have to do that. That's how I came across this article, in fact. I have to update these things. Why? Because I need more followers on Instagram and Twitter and all that crap. Why? Do you think I like that? I don't really enjoy it that much, like a lot of people would. That's why I block time off and only do it in specific time blocks. But I have to do those things because that way I get Apex Mindset out there. It points people to the YouTube channel. They get the free stuff, like this video right here we're doing. They benefit from it and they start getting those benefits and actioning things in their lives, right? And so it kind of expands the stuff. I have to be on social media to do that. But I don't consider that me time. That's not the time that I'm taking to actually get my mind right and relax. And some of the stuff, relaxing, okay, and just taking this break and not doing anything at all is critical to productivity. And it is critical to helping your brain on a neurological level more or less reset and be prepared to do actual work in a productive sense. And if you don't do those things, you're going to find that it affects your ability to do quality work and productive work.
Let's face it, if you're a man, then you are probably dealing with problems and challenges with women. Now, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. Your success with women literally boils down to one thing. The bad news is, if you don't have it, nothing else will work. All of the money, good looks, and all of the best pickup and game skills out there will fail without you mastering this one thing. And that one thing is frame. The answers to ending your pain and suffering and to start living an amazing life with women is just one click away. Click the link and let's get started.
Now, some of you guys are just tools right now. I don't mean tools like in an insult way, but like you're working for somebody because you need the money. And I trust me, I was the tool most of my life for somebody else, and I get it. But you're grinding. The more widgets you sell or the more whatever documents you produce or whatever it may be, this stuff is the grind that you're in. The more hours you put into mundane work for somebody else's stuff is what's going to result in money for you. I get that. Okay. And you have to do that. And maybe that's what you end up having to do. That's fine. But if you want out of that, or if you want to find passion and purpose within that, you have to break from those things every so often and take this time for yourself. All right. Not everybody is necessarily going to be their own master of their own destiny and make $10 million, but you can make really good money and be very successful in something you like, even if you are working for someone else and not an entrepreneur, and get some satisfaction and value in your life with that grind by taking these moments. And maybe that grind isn't good for you. Maybe the grind you're in isn't the job you want to be in. So what are you going to do, right? You got to find a way out of that. Very difficult. I know some of you guys are working 50, 60 hours a week and you're having trouble seeing a way out of this grind. Okay. I'm not saying out of it in a sense that you're not going to work or not going to be productive. I see your guys' super chats, by the way. I'll get to them in a second. But it means that, okay, you want value and meaning in your life, and there's only one of them, one life that you have. and you're stuck, let's say data processing for somebody or whatever, something that you don't find satisfying or very appealing, and you're doing it because you have to make some money. Well, how are you going to have the creativity in the thought process to figure out a direction to go, whether it's additional education, second job, a side hustle, career transfer completely, starting a business, whatever it is? You guys have to be able to think your way out of that and not be trapped and saddled with the grind of your responsibilities. Some of you guys, especially if you're coming from, we'll say, lack of a better term, right? That blue pilled world. And I don't just mean sexual marketplace blue pill. I mean everything, right? You're trapped in that little, coming out of that little prison that you've trapped yourself in, where you're working for somebody, grinding it out there, going home to a family, grinding it out at home, to wake up the next day to grind it out some more, in hopes that you get a Sunday afternoon off every now and then to go golfing or hunting if you're in Michigan, right? Or take that week vacation or two every year. And it's just every year is the same. A lot of you are not, if you have satisfaction in that and the work you're doing, that's great. But if you, a lot of you guys are not satisfied in that. So how do you find your way out of it? How do you work your way out of that? Got to work on this part, and you got to take your time for yourself. You got to disconnect. It's actually putting less time into certain things and then being more productive with your time on. That's going to matter. Taking breaks and then having that hour and a half time block that you're doing things and working, being massively productive. If you came home at the end of your grind job and it's, let's say, 5 o'clock in the evening, 6 o'clock in the evening, and you're not exhausted because you took some moments to yourself to do no mindedness. They call it, what do they call it here? No time. But it's really no mindedness or alpha brainwaves or something of that nature, to disconnect at your lunchtime instead of scrolling through bad news and trying to learn about COVID or some nonsense that you can't control. Take that 10 minutes and just do a brainwaves meditation. Be refreshed. You come home 5, 6 o'clock from your grind job, you're less stressed out, right? And then you maybe put an hour towards a passion of yours that's going to be your side hustle that may get you out of that grind that you're in. Or you put some time into that thing that is going to allow you to transfer into something more satisfying work. You see what I'm saying? Versus coming home exhausted, you haven't taken time for yourself. You're saddled with responsibilities at home. You don't take time really for your mind at home. What are you doing? You're just a tool now. You're literally a slave for a system. You're a slave to production for everybody else. And you don't really have any value in your own life to yourself, other than that being that cog in that wheel. So let's red pill you from that. Take yourself out of that. Well, this little activity of taking time to yourself, again, disconnecting and taking that time of mental rest and break, a mind break from everything you're just grinding out, and then going back to things, that's what's going to get you the clarity and help you be refreshed and then help you attack some of these problems that you have. Okay. So continue reading this article. I got your supers, guys. I'll read them at the end. Don't worry. So no time is also known as a quiet time, alone, isolated from the noise and demands of the world. The no time is a term for a vast stretch of emptiness between 4 a.m. when I start my morning writing session, 7:30 a.m. when the rest of the world wakes up. I'm going to tell you, you don't need to necessarily have the morning be your no time. It can be late at night too when everyone's gone to bed. It could be in the middle of the afternoon. So you can, this article suggesting in the morning. That's that morning grift stuff. Okay, what you need is sleep. You need a good 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep so that you're mentally and emotionally self-controlled and mentally focused. If waking up at 4 a.m. still gets you the 7 to 8 hours or so of sleep that you need, good. Okay, that's good. If it doesn't, then you're better off sleeping until it's time to wake up, spend 30 minutes to yourself to get your day started, and then take that time to yourself throughout the day or later on. Okay. So I'm just saying that as a thing. Some people are morning people. We got Jocko Willnick stuff, right? And he's showing his watch at like 3:30 in the morning. Great. That's good. That works really well for him. Now he claims to only get about 6 hours of sleep. Okay. Well, that's all he might need. He's an anomaly though. All right. Most people need 7 hours, 8 hours. Okay. Your body and recovering and stuff like that. Most people need that. All right. So don't discount it. Okay. Anyway, the urgent concerns of the day have not yet arrived. So, okay. So I'm going to skip over that. But he's just talking about the benefits of doing it in the morning. Yeah, tons of benefits, but do it when it suits you. That's my advice. Kotler says that neuroscience shows that disconnection time blocks have a large influence on creativity. The pressure forces the brain to focus on details, activating the left hemisphere and blocking the whole picture. Worse yet, when we are pressured, we are often stressed. We are unhappy with the rush, which embitters our mood and further restricts our focus. Being limited in time, then, can be kryptonite for creativity. In other words, no time helps us relax enough to see the big picture and allow innovative ideas to come to light. The hustle and bustle brought on by everyday life, even your well-intentioned morning class, can chase away the timid and ungainly ideas of emerging thought. And then they get into Steve Jobs and Albert Einstein and how they instituted this stuff. Well, let's read it. Why not? It's short. Despite the fact that Kotler considers himself an expert on the neuroscience of creativity, many successful figures have also understood the same truth. Albert Einstein accepted that many times the most valuable ideas occurred to him while doing nothing and enjoying his own no time. Steve Jobs was also a famous bum, quotation. I don't know who's quoting that from, but the time Steve Jobs procrastinated and pondered the possibilities was time well spent letting more divergent ideas emerge. Wharton professor Adam Grant once told the Business Insider of Jobs' long periods of aimless inactivity. It's worth mentioning that both geniuses, Einstein and Jobs, managed to do a great job putting their ideas into practice. Not only is no time enough to be able to change the world, it is an essential ingredient and a part of the whole. When you are planning and perfecting your morning routine, it's easy to give no time the attention. It's easy to not give no time the attention it deserves, but you should definitely always include it in your everyday life. You will see a change in the way you think and create and achieve a more successful version of yourself. Okay, good enough. All right. But the moral of it is take this time to yourself. We don't have anything, you're not scheduling anything. You're just allowing yourself to think. I do that all the time and people don't understand it. They're like, well, what are you like busy doing? Like, I don't get it. Well, this is the time where I don't develop these ideas and get that light bulb to go on several different things I've read to connect some dots or start looking into more research for things, that's going to benefit my coaching practice and helping dudes with women, helping dudes with, getting their mind right, success, having more alpha behaviors. Like, I don't just this doesn't come out of nowhere. And I put that stuff together during that sort of creative time. And it's more critical for me with what I do. Maybe not as critical for you, but even just that, it's taking a little bit of that time is going to help you a lot.